It is live.
Oh, it happens. Yeah.
Yep.
I am indeed ready. No, go ahead. I screwed up something over here.
3, 2, 1. Hi, and welcome everyone to The Fluid Voice. I'm your host, Ozma in the Dark. Pronouns she, they. Why not? Let's actually start introductions off with pronouns. I feel like we probably should have done that in the first episode onward. Anyways, I'm here with the two co-hosts, Christy, Abbey.
Hello. She, her.
Yeah. And my other co-host, Perfict.
Howdy. He, him.
Yeah, and we are here with our wonderful guest, Shae.
Hey guys, I'm Shae. She, her pronouns. Yeah. How's it going?
Yeah. How is everyone doing? What during this
fucking quarantine?
Yeah.
I don't know what if it weren't for this show, I wouldn't know what day it was.
I feel that.
I mean, fair. I can totally see that. What about you, Perfect? How are you?
Yeah, I'm about the same. Once a week, I know what day it is.
Well, I'm glad to do a public service to both of you. Wow, my speaking is terrible today.
A little community makes everything better.
Yeah. This is just gonna be that episode. It's on every podcast, that episode where everything just seems to go like a little bit wrong, but not in any mean way. We are talking actually about a serious topic this week, trans homelessness. And so I'm curious, what is everyone's thoughts? What's everyone's knowledge about this? What do people know, or the general knowledge and thoughts? Any one of you can start.
The real long and short of it, and I have talked to Shae about this before a little bit, but I did get kicked out when I was younger for the LGBT thing. Basically, either that or it was a black boyfriend. I don't know, because I had a Nazi for a stepfather.
That does do that. That does make it hard for
scary.
all
I'm
those
so
circumstances.
Sorry. Yeah.
One of the first people to figure out I was trans, so it's strange. It's a strange story, but yeah, I've been homeless and in despair to the point where I slept on the train tracks one night. No freaking train that night, though. So.
Well, I am glad that there wasn't a train that night, because I do like having you as a co-host. And
honestly,
yeah.
Sorry, honestly, same though. Like, you've been. I'm not sure if anybody knows the history. Like, I just a few months ago was kicked out of where I was living for being trans, not by my parents or anything, just by some housemates. Came out. And then started HRT. There was like this string of abuse for a little while. And then after getting gaslit by it, by my former best friend, they finally just kicked me out. I was living in a shelter for a little while, got harassed by many of the guests there for, being me. And, well, through all of that and my stay in Tucson, moving here, Christy Abbey actually pointed me to a lot of resources that would be able to help me out. And honestly, like, really grateful for everything that you did, because without you, like, things would have been like that much harder. You know what I mean? And I appreciate it a lot.
Oh, glad to do it. I think I've told you that my own experience. I don't want anybody else to go through that, and I'm frantic when I hear someone's gotten kicked out or suffered through that. And I'll try to do everything. But Cirrus is the one to thank, because Cirrus is the one who finally found you something. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Cirrus definitely helped a lot. Cirrus definitely helped a lot too. He made a video documenting like my whole situation. Used it more to spread awareness about everything going on, because I'm not sure if a lot of people know this. LGBTQ plus youth experience about disproportionately high rates of homelessness in like the homeless youth population, about 40% actually. And
40% of LGBTQ are homeless, or 40% of homeless are LGBTQ?
Yeah, that former one. I mean, the second one.
The second one, okay. I was just making things clear.
Yeah, and they only make up 10% of like the youth population overall, so it's a pretty high number.
Yeah.
One of the odd things, I had a very strange experience just as an observer more than anything else. I went to a horror convention in Salt Lake City, and across the street was an atheist convention, and there were lots of protests over here, but there was also a huge homeless youth population. Like, to the right was the protesters, and stuff. There was an under the bridge like community of young people in Salt Lake City who had been kicked out. I gravitated towards the second, obviously. But it's one of those. Whenever I get mad at religion, that's one of the things I get mad at. But
I mean, yeah, definitely understandable. And so outside of getting kicked out of homes, what is there a problem with people who get kicked out of work getting unemployed? Because I would think that would be like a major issue too, given that not every law, not every state has a law to prevent it or enforces.
In fact, like a majority
laws.
of states have like zero protections for like trans people when it comes to like even their employment. You have to find a job that might have something listed in their like little word things. I don't know exactly what they're called. The words escape me kind of like often. But no, there's a lot of people that get kicked out of their work just because they're trans.
You just had a bad experience with your workplace.
Not because I was trans though.
Oh, I thought that was the meat of the story.
No, the reason why I had a lot of problems with work was because of just like what the job was. Like, it was providing non-emergency medical transportation, and then like, I know that doesn't sound like too bad. And you're scheduling some rides and stuff, right? But like, then you get these people that need like sort of life-saving treatment, whether it be chemotherapy, dialysis, or maybe they have a tumor or something that they need removed through surgery, and they run out of rides, or maybe their insurance expired, and this is the last thing that they're able to do. And fortunately, I'm forced to, turn them away, tell them that they need to find a different ride, and it fucking broke my heart several times. And I went to the bathroom and cried because
what job
one of those
was
people
that?
that think healthcare should be free. You know what I mean?
What job was that?
It was a call center job.
Okay.
So somebody's desperately trying to chat with me, so I'm trying to. So I'm trying. I'm trying to like tell her I'm on the air here.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I mean, it's not.
Not
That
funny,
is the
funny, but
circumstance. Yeah. My cell phone is off, but yeah. So
well, you know, I have a rule that especially with a lot of people who need help with things, that I will answer any messenger call. So messenger is always on. So
yeah, I mean, obviously with things like this, I mean, you matter too. I mean, that's the thing. You have to be able to set aside time for yourself. I don't like that, you know, not every... hopefully you're not the only one.
no,
Christy.
I try. If I can't help, I try and point to people who can.
Yeah.
And the homeless situation. I mean, I'm one of the first people I met in the trans community, or the trans group thing, therapy. Here was is a homeless prostitute, which I hope you didn't have to go through, Shae. You didn't have to go through that, right?
A homeless prostitute, but sex work is real work. Throw that out.
Well, yes, it is,
Yeah.
but if it's not by choice, then it's also difficult. I went through it.
You seem kind of faded, at least on my end.
We lost your sound here.
It's not completely lost, it's just faded.
Yeah, I turned my gain down.
Oh, that's probably what it was.
No,
Is it a little better though?
Turn your game back up. Yeah, you're not quite at par here.
I did. Okay, as long as it's good. I'm used to having like my mic right in front of my face, but I don't have my old setup, so just sitting there neatly on my desk.
Well,
yeah.
whatever gain you have, crank it, because you're coming through really soft all of a sudden, and you were doing just fine before.
Got it. How about that?
Perfect.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
I went through the bag. I went through the homeless and the prostitution and all of that, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, if you're desperate and you don't have a lot of choices, yeah.
Yeah. What was a tiny queer kid to do? I wasn't always this fabulous, you know.
I was unfortunately always this fabulous. I assume so because my parents accepted me and are part of the well, I mean, a majority of the reason I didn't end up homeless, because they didn't kick me out of the house. So yeah, I mean, I eventually moved in with friend roommates, but I am very not well versed in homelessness outside of the fact that the various ways in which that can be a terrifying prospect, and obviously I would hate to be homeless, but like I wouldn't know what to do. Actually, so how did you make it? How did you find where to go?
Me or Shae?
Either.
For me, I used Google, and I had to call several different places to see if they take someone in. Then I finally found a place. They interviewed me. I told them about my identity. I was lucky enough that they didn't kick me to the curb, but I was still forced to be, at the men's group. The other times that I've been homeless because I've faced a lot of housing instability since I turned 18. Got kicked out for my birthday, actually. Couch hopping, staying with some family, more couch hopping, living in somebody's car, and then got on my own for a little while, break up, and then got kicked out again. Had to quit school, came to Arizona.
Yeah. You said the Google for places. What sorts
Homeless
of places?
shelters.
Okay. I was just making sure it was clear. With you, Christy, how are you able to
Well, remember this was the early 80s, so
yeah.
Essentially there was no LGBT housing that could be. I stayed in a group home for a while. That was a nightmare. They found out I was queer and tortured me. So, you know, I don't like to talk about all of it, but I will talk about some of the darker stuff because this is one of the times when it's appropriate. So I tricked my way out of there, and eventually managed to start couch surfing. I didn't drop out of school. I actually graduated high school.
Oh, same. I was talking about college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just in case that wasn't.
My homelessness actually ended after college, after high school, because 6 weeks later I entered college. So 6 weeks after graduation. So I had housing.
I'm sorry you had to deal with all that.
No, it's. I forget about it most of the time. Is how I deal with a lot of stuff. I have protective mechanisms.
Yeah, but obviously it's nice to, it's nice to find out that, if people have more options, if people know more, and if things can be addressed, and if things can be made better. I mean, I guess that's the thing to hope for.
Well, my other option at that time, my only option as a queer, and I use queer in its reclaimed sense, and I'm sorry, trigger warning or something, because some people still don't like that, but I call myself the little queer kid, and my only option at that time, had I wanted housing, would be to go into a mental institution, because they thought I was a mental disorder.
Yeah, that's still something that they're trying to popular. Well, the right is trying to popularize against trans people, claiming that we're all mentally ill because gender dysphoria is a DSM, that it's somehow a mental illness.
Well,
yes.
Whenever I talk about it, I say often I like living in the future.
Yeah.
And I don't think people I don't think people realize how bad a lot of the stuff was back then for us. I'm thankful I went to art school, so that helped a lot.
Yeah, I could only imagine. I mean, we didn't have the internet wasn't at nearly the same capacity we have it now. We didn't have
well, not in the
camera
80s,
phones or
there
anything
wasn't
like
anything.
that. Which, yeah, well, I think there was internet, but it wasn't in everybody's house.
Well, it was government,
on their
wasn't
phone.
it?
Yeah.
It
didn't exist in any capacity like it did today. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What I was trying to get at is these types of things helped educate people and finally, these things helped educate people and finally helped people realize that we're not these terrible people that they thought we are. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think even talking about how bad it was is one of those things that shows what we had to go through to get here, and why would we be doing this, for kicks or mental illness or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it took a long time for they considered homosexuality to be a mental illness for the longest time too. They're doing the same thing. They're just recycling old homophobic arguments and pushing them on trans people.
Yeah.
But we were talking about DARPANET. It's funny. One of the couch surfing I did was at a local college I probably should not name, and I stayed in the computer room for several weeks because they had a couch in there.
That beats my computer room story of my computer room story was far less depressing, and I'm only interrupting it to brighten things a little bit. In high school, because I flunked some classes because or one class, I think, an important class, because I didn't do homework enough, I maybe set out a plan to steal computer parts from the high school. Now, I didn't go through with this plan, but I had gloves. I was like, there's less security during the summer. Right. There is so I got gloves for the fingerprints. I practiced with a computer at home, taking it apart and putting it back together. I was ready, but I chickened out. So
well, this is good.
Amazing.
I don't know. Perfect.
For legal purposes, you have to say you didn't go through with it.
No, I honestly didn't. I did actually chicken out in this, and plus, I was 16 or 17. I was under the. I'm pretty sure I'm past the statute of limitations.
Just playing around.
Yeah, at this point, those parts would be worth $5 or something.
Well, thankfully the computer room was very well stocked with Labatt's Dark and Guinness and I forgot another expensive at the time beer. So I managed to make it through that pretty nicely.
Well, that helps.
I think I talk about somebody named Lauren a lot, and the weirdest part is she has the exact same job as the guy I was seeing who ran the computer room. So.
I think there was always somebody sleeping in every computer room.
Oh, yeah. And doing yeah.
I didn't even know this was a thing where people slept in computer rooms.
I didn't know either, honestly.
Well, they were giant back then.
Oh, Yeah, I suppose.
Are you talking about when computers were as big as a room?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, fair.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. What do I mean? You're the one who always does the homework, and even though you don't talk too much, which is unfortunate. I think you're incredibly smart and have a lot to offer. So,
I concur. By the way,
I keep up with that illusion by talking very little.
But
every time I hear "I concur," like fucking Catch Me If You Can just plays in my head.
Oh, you know,
I fucking love that movie.
Well, have you
it's been a while since I've seen that, but
what? I mean, there's no escaping the homelessness wherever you are, and again, unfortunately, the youth homelessness has a lot to do with the LGBT or sexual abuse.
It's hard to find. It's hard to find statistics on the homeless youth population when it comes to like gender specifically.
Well, they've done it in Utah, and it was more than 50%.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
Utah's its own thing. So perfect. Give us your wisdom.
Well, it's also a problem with adults too. I mean that there's many states where there's no protection against that. So if you can prove that your landlord is just targeting trans people and ejecting them, that's not illegal, and that's a real problem.
Yeah.
I mean, New York has such good laws on this stuff.
Yeah, but
New
even
York is always leading the nation on those things. Yeah.
Yeah, but even sometimes when there's good laws, like sometimes they're not followed through, and you have to. It's sometimes hard to prove discrimination with stuff, and people will. There's always going to be an excuse that has nothing to do with it. Oh, fabricated problems that you can't disprove that they use for an excuse. I mean,
there's a million ways people can get around like discrimination, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, but I always feel lucky where I am, which thankfully I'm not where I was because I hated it there. Which was a very small city in New York. And of course, Nashville and Florida, and Upper Florida is where I was before that. So, yikes! Which is get the hell out of there.
Yeah, that's not a good place.
I tried to ride the rails, but I'm so bad at catching trains. And half of them are going to Canada anyway, and I never could tell the difference. I'm really bad at directions.
I mean,
fair.
I wish I did that, honestly. Like, when I was homeless. The whole, like, catch a train thing.
Yeah.
I feel like if I do it now, I'll get called a weekend warrior, and like...
Probably.
I'd have to... It's like a lifestyle you have to live.
Yeah, you have to make sure to go through with that.
Well, I'm going to ask you, Shae. I'm going to ask you a deep question. You can not answer it if you don't desire.
You can choose to whether or not to answer the question.
Yes.
Shoot, it's okay.
This is something I never asked you, so I've been curious about it. So, when you were going through this, and especially near the end, what I got from your text and DMs and stuff was just the not doing well. Did you fall into despair at any point?
Honestly, it's kind of weird for me. like a lot of times I did like feel hopeless and stuff, but like usually when I get like really depressed and stuff like that, what I do is I sit there, either play music or get on YouTube and just start watching channels. It's a good way to escape. It's what I've been doing for fucking forever, honestly. Like, love music so much. I was in like a really shitty high school punk band. That's a whole other thing. But
I'm still in a shitty high school punk band, so you know.
But no, like at the shelter, it was really tough. There was like this religious apologist like wannabe that was there, like constantly calling me out and asking me all these like really strange questions, like what are we gonna do when we get to the point that we can't tell who is a man and who is a woman? Just a bunch of fucking bullshit like that.
Celebrate?
Ask.
Fucking yeah, basically it. But the thing was, it's like I could confront him or like argue with him, because like that'll cause a scene. If it causes a scene, then I'll be out on the streets, and like I'd likely be targeted anyways because of like who I am. It's like a very religious area.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that was really fucking tough. But I had people online that I was going to for comfort. And, like,
I hope I provided some.
You did, as well as like some of the people here in the chat right now, Mistress Angelica being one of them.
Hi, Mistress Angelica. I can't see the chat, so hi, Mistress Angelica.
Oh, yeah.
This is
Mistress Angelica. Well, I suppose Transgarter is your channel, right?
Yeah, that's me. That's me typing.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Technically, I think I'm logged in with the fluid voice, so if I think I typed one thing in there, but yeah, it's good to have people to contact. It's good to find out. I was not good with having friends to contact, and you know, keeping touch. I don't blame you.
Even now, it's like still hard for me to reach out. Like I have to get to like a serious point before like I finally do.
Well, you know I mean? Just mean like try to actually make friends. I was really bad about that.
No, same. I've always had like a lot of trouble like making friends. Like I just get lucky. I don't know how it happens.
Well, you're all my friends.
Well, yeah, but like that was after Zoloft. Zoloft is Zoloft made the difference. That was what killed a lot of the depression and some of the anxiety that I had. That was really holding me back from talking with people. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that'll really do it.
This is what I mean, we were talking trans stuff, but there is also the opening up of the asylums after Geraldo Rivera, which only Perfict is old enough to remember what happened with that. The problem with a lot of the homeless people, you do have the mentally ill, but everybody is defaulted to mentally ill in people's minds. So it's always a struggle to prove you're okay. If you put shelter on your job application, you're fucked. Because they say, oh, okay, this is gonna be some crazy person who's not gonna, and excuse me, just saying crazy, but I'm just gonna say crazy.
That's
how they view it. Sorry.
There's a reason for that though, because like you have to realize like it's kind of like an intersectional issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like of course people are gonna like run off these stereotypes, but like mentally people with like a mental illness do have like a disproportionately like high amount of like homelessness as well.
Yeah.
But like it's mostly because like we have a big fucking healthcare problem that like they don't get treated, or there's like a huge stigma surrounding it, so like they refuse to get treatment. Or...
Well, also the fact that due to our obsession with capitalism, jobs kind of have no incentive to make jobs better, and so people are forced to work like a certain amount, which is an excessive amount, depending on what sorts of things you deal with.
I don't consider like autism to be like a mental illness or anything, but I got fired from a job that I had after like I got diagnosed, and I told my boss. Another job, I had a real bad period of like sensory overload, and I had to like rest, and shortly afterward I got fired as well. I mean, sensory overload was something like I could work through. I get like pretty clumsy and stuff, but like there's other times like I need to like fucking sit down and take like a break.
Yeah.
And as soon as like I hit that point, like they fucking sacked me.
One of the things they had in the early 80s was an incentive program to hire people who are homeless or otherwise in poverty. But the problem is, well, I'll tell you a specific. I worked a job. Now after 6 weeks, they get their little bonus. They get their bonus check. And after 6 weeks, they just fired me.
Yep, they do the minimum amount necessary to get the most profit.
Yep.
It's almost like there's a system about that. It's almost like it's almost like homelessness also ties into
it's like I'm all for shitting on capitalism, but I didn't know if I can do that here. So
yes, I am fine with that.
Perfict's the only one I don't know what he thinks, but we're not capitalists here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm a capitalist, but maybe with a small c.
Yeah.
I mean, we judge you now that you have come out as a capitalist in this. But
if you want to know what I see myself, my political ideology, just check my Twitter. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so a narco-communist, I assume.
Yeah,
close. Yeah. I think I need to read more theory. I lean kind of towards ANSYD and ANCOM, right in the middle there.
I have no idea. But I just
don't exactly know how. Yeah, but yeah, 100%.
I've been DemSoc forever, and even though the definition keeps changing, I kind of keep up with it.
Kierkegaard talks about democratic socialists.
You know, I kind of don't want to talk about that too much. I went off on
I'm all for leftist unity.
Yeah.
Well, so long as it's not leftist unity while tossing marginalized groups down into the gutter.
Which is a bit of a problem, and one of the problems I had with one of the candidates. Very, very much so.
That's such a complicated question, because like reduce as much harm as possible.
Well, yeah, reducing harm.
I don't want to vote for the lesser of two rapists.
Oh no! Okay, this is going down this route.
Yeah,
okay,
let's not go down this route.
Stick to let's tie things back into the topic at hand, because this will derail hardcore. I could see it starting. And honestly, maybe after we're done with the first half, we can derail hardcore. But like right now, it would be best for us to stick to trying to address homelessness. Because I mean, there's also, well, especially trans homelessness, and just marginalized groups in general, because there are so many houses out there, and there's plenty of homes.
Plenty of homes and plenty of homeless.
There's like even fucking empty like hotels out there that like haven't seen like a person like staying in a room for years that are just lying there. They don't get counted into like the empty homes thing, but like either way, there's millions upon millions of like empty fucking rooms and empty fucking houses out there, and hundreds of thousands of homeless people. Like, why not just?
Well, they keep thinking, well, homeless people. When I went to the group home, one of the rules was we were not to tell anybody in the neighborhood that's what it was, because it was going to bring down property values and people would get angry. And I'm like, are you?
Yeah, who gives a fuck about the property values? Oh,
yeah, this is
greedy landlords.
You want to know what turned me leftist? I think it was that. And yeah, it's that way with a lot of the homeless shelters. They make sure that people don't go out the back way because we're less than, or we is not. Technically, I'm homeless now, but I'm sheltered, so.
I mean, you have a home.
I don't really live here.
Oh.
I don't exactly like want to say like what groups like I'm working with, but I joined a couple of like activist groups like here in where I live.
Yes.
First time I learned that it's actually like more appropriate to say shelterless versus homeless. Probably start doing that more.
It depends on the situation. I mean, homeless and shelterless are different things. I am homeless, but I'm not shelterless.
Yeah, I've technically never been shelterless, and I can only imagine like how bad that is.
Okay, so wait. What is the definition? I am the person who's never been homeless because I have nice parents, nice middle class parents. So,
well, it's pretty much in the name. Shelterless is where you don't have a place to stay, even though it's not your residence. And homeless means you got no place to stay, and you're outside, or you're in your tent in the park or whatever you're doing. That's pretty much, that really is the dividing line. Like I say, I would be homeless because I don't live here. And although I kind of haven't left in a couple of years, but I'm not shelterless because I haven't left in a couple of years. Although until recently, the people, and I'm going to say this because they don't watch the show, the people who do have the house hold the we can kick you out any time over me at times to get me to do what they want.
Yeah, but the people that end up kicking me out did the exact same thing. They held homelessness over my head like a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Not sure if I use bargaining chip the right way, but I think I got the message. Perhaps.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And perfect. You've speaking of perfect, I mean, you've been to the big cities where you have the older homeless, which is and shelterless, which is always the sadder part, especially. And I will say, and forgive me, I'm still using it in reclaimed terms. You have the old queers too, still trying to convince everybody
all
they don't
the cool
have...
kids use that word to describe themselves now.
I know, but Lauren doesn't like it, and I'm kind of like deferring a little bit.
I mean, yeah, and you are describing other people, so with that, it's always a bit more of a gray area.
Yeah, it really depends on like how you're using it, because queer is also like an umbrella term just for the entire LGBTQ plus community.
They just heard what I said.
Oh.
So that's fun.
I am so sorry. I'm glad I have the roommates I have, but I can imagine roommates like this. Okay, so story time. Partially for distraction, because that's a stressful thing. So I had a former friend who was an emotionally abusive piece of shit, but I was desperate for friends outside of my ex-girlfriend, and so I wanted to connect to more people, and I was always afraid that, you know, I would never be fully accepted as friends with the two other people I knew from high school who I stayed friends with, but like I didn't make effort to keep in contact at the time, at the very least. I think even when I was desperate, I think I did I think I would rather be homeless than live in the same place as him, because having to deal with people who might criticize you at the drop of a hat for every little thing is just stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
And I wanted to talk to Perfict a little more about the
but going to the city?
Yeah, just I have no idea where you are, so yeah, you
Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach. Oh, so you do have a high homeless population down there.
Yep. It's an issue.
Well, is it an issue? I mean, what kind of an issue do you take it as? Do you take it as it's an issue because it's a blight, or you take it an issue because what the hell is anybody doing for these people?
Oh, it's what the hell are people doing for these people? And I mean, most homeless people have the potential of reversing their situation, but they're trapped in a situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some are just going to need assistance living, and that's something else you need to cope with as an idea.
Yeah.
Even I had.
You're saying it's some.
Oh, I had a way out. I had a scholarship to college, and one of the reasons I went summer semester immediately is to get out of the situation. But I had an ACE card there, so, well, not an ACE card, just a general queer card. It's very much a spiral. I've seen it. I've seen it. My mom. It happened to my mom for a while too. While we lived a lot of places and couch surfed a lot of places. So, even from a rich family. So.
Shae, you're gonna say something, or Christy, are you done?
I'm sorry. I don't talk about this stuff ever, and I getting the opportunity is kind of flooding me a little bit.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that like the system kind of works against not just like trans people, but like people of color as well. And honestly, if you belong to any sort of marginalized group, just the fact that you're in a shelter alone and you might have to write that down on your resume or your job application, that counts against you when like you're searching for a job, because like they're going to make all these assumptions, of course, and they're not going to want to like hire somebody who's homeless unless they're like real desperate for getting somebody like on their team, or like you make a really fucking damn good impression like when you meet them. But again, like I said, if you're like a trans person, there's already probably going to be a lot of bias. If you're a person of color, there's going to be probably even more bias. And if you're a trans person of color, then like you're double fucked, unfortunately.
Yeah.
A lot of people need like real shelter in order to like work through those biases and actually have like a better chance at like gaining employment. Like, if I was still like sitting in a shelter here, I don't think I would have been able to get a job, even if it was through a temp agency. Like,
well, one of the things.
I mean,
go. Sorry.
I mean, I do go like boy mode when I go to like interviews and stuff, because like I feel that's the only way that I can get fucking hired.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it sucks, but like, at least I can pay rent now.
I mean,
yeah,
but that still like, sucks.
No, 100%. It's fucking terrible. Like I have to sit there and deadpan myself. Like it's not fun. It sucks, but like you have to do what you have to do to survive. Unfortunately, like I still need to eat, and like even if it kicks up like dysphoria like a million times, like I won't fucking starve.
And then that's the crux, really.
To be clear, it sucks.
I wasn't trying to be like I wasn't trying to be like super personal. I was just trying to talk about like the systemic issues that like kind of surround this and bring like a semi like intersectional perspective onto it.
Yeah.
I know, we get personal here.
Yeah.
1 second, guys. I gotta mute. I'll be right back.
Okay. I apologize. I have visited Virginia Beach and the home. Yeah, it's a strange place.
Yes, the homeless people live just behind the Potemkin facade.
Yeah, it's
Potemkin facade.
In the 50s, Russia would build model villages where people didn't actually live, and they were called Potemkin villages.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just it's a great reference, and I totally get it.
Here where I live, like the shelterless population is very scattered, but there are concentrations of like people who live in these sort of like tent cities. They tend to get harassed by police a lot and slapped with like fucking ridiculous like kinds of tickets, like, oh, you didn't like pull your tent down at a certain time, here's a ticket. Oh, you're walking in the street, here's a ticket. You're obstructing a highway despite the fact that there's no fucking highway there. Oh, here's the ticket. And every week they go and like bulldoze. They do like these sweeps or whatever, and then if people don't move their tents in time, they'll just like fucking bulldoze it and throw it in the dumpster, and people have to find like new sets of like bed gear, more another tent, like fucking everything. Sometimes they lose all of their belongings. It's like fucking terrible.
I
think the program there is if they're horrible enough to them, they'll stop being homeless.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's been police here that said like, why don't they go out and buy a house? Like
we have a very good Habitat for Humanity program here, so people build their own houses and live in them, which lovely, and regardless of what the stigma is, when I pass by, I'm seeing a very nice, well-kept village in the middle of, in the middle of my city, around places that are totally unkempt, which are where the middle class live. Because, So I have nothing to say past that. I think so much of how people think about homelessness in general is ridiculous, and people don't. I think people have. I'm wondering when this thing is over, how much people will understand what it's like to be paycheck to paycheck and to suddenly be without one.
The majority of the U.S. population lives paycheck to paycheck and can't afford like a $400 like emergency.
Yes. Yeah. We have 4 sinks in the house. Only one of them work.
The only reason I'm fine is because I've got middle class parents to pay part of the rent. I mean, I say that my roommates wouldn't keep me here even if I didn't pay rent. Obviously it's just my parents are willing to help with that.
Yeah.
And I am rooming with friends, and I think and the only reason I'm fine is also because my middle class mom decided to go to a lawyer when I got hit by the car, and so I got the money from that, and so the medical bill was eventually paid after weeks and weeks of getting a bill every day sent to me of like $5,000 or $7,000 or $8,000. Because here's the thing. When you have a traumatic brain injury, you don't think well. At the very least, I had a severe traumatic brain injury. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and I did not think well. I don't. I mean, I know they had me sign something for moving to the other hospital. Obviously, I didn't consent to being put on an ambulance, at least not in any cognitive capacity. I was awake apparently, but like and yelling at everyone, but you know, that happens when your head smashes into the front of a car. I saw the police report. I don't remember the event, but I saw the police report, and I'm just like, so I got some money from that, and it's saved away, and my mom's paying some of the rent, and I'm running off of food stamps, and my general assistance was cut out because I didn't get the hospital visit that they wanted fast enough. So they decided to cut that out, and then the coronavirus happened not too long after that, and I'm not really comfortable going to the government building for trying to get general assistance during this pandemic. Given how crowded it is, given how little they're likely to care about whether I get sick, I still forget to. I really need to try to get someone to help in terms of helping me schedule stuff and whatnot, and I keep forgetting to call them. Keep forgetting to call the person to help me keep track of schedules. Funny how that works. But yeah, no, there's a reason why I always feel like 2 steps away from homelessness, and because I know my parents are old and they're not going to always be able to help me. If anything happens to them, I'm fucked. Well, I'm pretty close to fucked. Really close to fucked. And my roommates want to move on in their relationship, and they're the monogamous type, so I know there's a unspoken time limit in terms of me rooming, so yeah, I am trying to prevent myself from getting homeless.
Well understood.
Yeah. Although I wasn't trying to present myself the one time I ran away from home because I was desperate and I didn't see any hope, and I just wanted to wander west to California and shoplift food and stuff from stores along the way, and then go. But look, you know, it
shoplifting
was...
is praxis if it's from, you know, like big name, big corporate store.
Well, the thing is, here's the thing. I was I turned 25. So I was no longer covered under my mom's insurance. So, you know, and I had left because I had left the therapist I was going to for trying to transition because I was afraid of that stuff happening. Like, I wasn't sure if it was at the end of the year when
ones.
In terms of therapists for hormone replacement therapy, yes. But also, I technically left the therapist shortly before the end of the year when I was 24, because I didn't know if it was my birthday hit or the year of my birthday hit. I don't know. I was confused about the insurance thing, and I was kind of freaked out, and I didn't know. I was bad at talking about stuff. I was worse at asking for help than I am now. But yeah, gatekeeping therapists don't help. But to be fair, it was also how should I put it this way? I left my therapist I was originally going to. I left the Center for Sexual Health slightly more than 10 years ago. So it was still DSM-4. I was diagnosed with gender identity disorder because it was still labeled as a disorder. Yeah. So yes, it was gatekeeping. They didn't have the informed consent yet.
Sophia wants to call in, so if you're on the Discord, just
yes. I can send you a link.
Yes, we're moving on to the second half now.
Yes. Let me. Or I should probably not show that to everyone. Ignore what you saw.
What? Something flashed on the screen? I don't think anything flashed on the screen. What are you talking about?
Hopefully nothing flashed on the screen.
I was switching channels, so I actually don't know.
Yeah, just join in here. I sent a link to Sophia.
Okay.
Oh, you don't do it through Discord?
Not. Technically, we find out who through Discord in the phone booth. Look.
Oh, and then
there was a lot of us trying to figure out how best to do this. Honestly, the phone booth would probably work best.
Yeah, whatever works best for you. I would just I assume I just pick this up as well.
She didn't join the Discord call. She joined the. Well, I'm gonna try to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
I am figuring out what's going on because she called me on Discord. What's the we're on Zoom. do you not have Zoom? Why can't I hear?
She has Zoom, but
Yeah.
we go call in voice.
Well,
If you want me to send her the direct link, I can do that.
Well, I sent her the direct link, and then I saw a call on Zoom. Or sorry, call on Discord. So I don't know what's going on. And
she's not on my list over on the right. I'm keeping the list up just in case.
So I don't.
Yeah, but Windows or a Mac computer.
By here, I meant the Zoom link.
Although we got to get the Discord voice working better, so.
Discord is always glitchy.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching Vosh the other day, and he kept kicking him into AFK while he was, like, debating something.
Yeah, I saw that one. It was kind of... what's going on here?
Wait. Oh, is that...
Oh, she just said send me the Zoom link here, so... I suppose I will do that.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
There you go.
I hear there's a history here that I'm not aware of.
Alright, I see how it is. Your Zoom link matters more.
I suppose. Well, god damn it. Okay. I tell you what I'm gonna do, because alright, I'll be right back. Let me try and fix this.
Wait.
Okay.
While you guys are doing this, I'm gonna go refill my water bottle.
Okay. You can go refill that.
Just tell me that's a gorgeous picture first. It really is. I love that picture.
Yeah, no,
that is a good picture.
Yeah, so it is Sophia clicking the link.
She said a few minutes.
Okay. So
well,
my brain got distracted by this. I was like, someone called in.
I always, one of the things that happens when we do this is I always feel like, okay, I'm telling like the darkest timeline stories that are my history, and it's kind of like, do I talk about it fully and try and get it out, or experiential? I mean, obviously what I went through is anecdotal, but it's not uncommon.
I mean, I think it's helpful for people to have something that they can tie this to. Like, I don't know, it feels different if you're like, oh, you know, this I read a story that you know, X person ended up homeless and forced to deal with prostitution, and that's somehow different from the person talking about it, almost like they're talking to you.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna admit Sophia here real quick. Hold up.
Okay.
Wait till Shae comes. And
Shae is here.
All right, and oh, I look so gorgeous in that pic. I don't want to move it.
No, too late. The pic has moved.
Okay, I'll start my video back up. Hello, Sophia. Can you hear us okay?
If you hadn't noticed, like, I nervously like eat and drink when I'm on stream. Luckily, I had this chamoy Lucas, which is just a fucking best. It helps with the salt cravings, and it's a little spicy and sweet, and I'm like, yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
I ran out of water. But, Sophia, can you hear us?
I've got you on unmuted, and I tried to remotely start your video. So, which is a
shouldn't
feature.
video be about consent? Shouldn't people consent to have their video shown?
Well, probably can, but if it's just voice.
Oh, she disappeared.
She disappeared. I had this problem earlier. Lauren had to. Fourth time I've said the name. Lauren had to go out and come back in a couple of times.
Weird.
Yeah, there's some conflicting setting I've done here, and I've got to figure out what it is.
Oh.
Maybe she was just having some like trouble on her end.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
So we travel through the darkness. Sometimes. That's always my fault, it seems.
What? It's not your fault for a bunch of people having depressing lives. That's no way your fault, Christy. In fact, you are aware of resources and stuff that can be helpful.
No, I never want anybody to go through this again, and especially people who I've developed some kind of relationship with. Here we go. Let us try again.
Yeah.
I feel like it's important to also like say that like I mean, it's important to know that sometimes by like sharing those stories, you help people that might be watching feel less alone, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've got to stop beating myself up over this stuff.
Yeah, you should stop beating yourself up over this stuff, because it's kind of awesome that you went through like arguably one of the worst timelines possible and you ended up doing far more amazing stuff than I have.
Well, let's hope so. No, I mean, not let's hope so. You know what I mean. Hold on, I have to unmute. Okay. You are unmute. You are unmuted. I thought I had it on auto unmute, but then when you logged out, it switched it. I'm sorry.
So you are allowed to swear now.
Holy shit!
So,
Sophia.
Hello.
Sophia, you there?
Yeah, I'm
Oh
here.
wait, was that? Yeah. Okay.
okay. Have you met Shae? Shae, Sophia, Shae.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Whoever you are.
Howdy.
That's
Hi, Alex.
that's the what?
I said hello, Alex.
Oh, hey. I was
Yeah,
just gonna say that's the bird in the corner. It always appears here. We don't know how it gets here.
So Alex, I need to ask you a question, right? Because we've got so much. We found out the last time. We're both trans. We're both autistic, and we're both Jewish. So I need to know: are you also a Doctor Who fan?
Not as much anymore as I used to be. I used to. So I grew up obviously watching the Fourth Doctor.
Yes, Tom Baker, who is also my doctor.
Yeah, who is also the other reference.
He's the voice in Little Britain.
No.
Oh God.
No, different reference. In the movie based off of the.
I hate that I enjoyed Little Britain for a very brief period of time because, like, looking back on it now, like, holy fuck, that show is problematic.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't stand
the C.S. Lewis novels, the Narnia novels. They're made into movies, and Tom Baker was the marsh guy. Puddleglum. Yes, thank you.
Oh, right. Well, I never saw any of the Narnia movies, and to be honest, C.S. Lewis was always a Christian apologist, so I was never interested.
Well, yeah, I know, but you know, that really hits its worst in the seventh novel, and you don't notice it as much in the other novels. At the very least, I didn't. But once the seventh novel hit, like, it was just very touched by an angel.
What belongs what belongs to Tash belongs to Tash. Just remember that.
I love you, dogs, but I'm not sharing. I'm sorry.
So okay, who here is autistic? I think we've got like 4 or ish. Yeah.
There's
I'm sorry. What did you say? I wasn't paying attention.
On the autism spectrum. Who's on the autism spectrum? Who's not on the autism spectrum?
That was my sense of humor. You've got to get used to this by now.
Yes, I actually caught it, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is we're autistic, so we don't get sense of humor.
Oh, that's a terrible joke.
I write comedy for a living, for God's sakes. Come on.
Well, anyway, no, I was.
I'm not
sorry,
sharing.
I was about to say there is a high proportion of trans people who are autistic.
Yeah.
Sacha Baron Cohen's brother, whose name eludes me, but I would imagine it's Baron Cohen, something.
I suspect.
Yeah, he's a neurologist, and he's done a study, and he did sort of try to make a link between autism and trans.
It's some like 10% of people on the autism spectrum experience like either gender nonconformity, and some of those like end up having like end up identifying as trans later in life.
Anyways, I wanted to call in a few things. First of all, I think that everyone has underestimated the genius of Donald Trump. The guy should get a Nobel Peace Prize for basically telling his voter base to go and kill themselves.
I think that kind of disqualifies you for a peace prize. That's like handing a Nobel Peace Prize to someone nuking Japan.
No, he's more worthy than Barack Obama, because Barack Obama got a peace prize while he was busy drone attacking, women and children.
He got the peace prize for doing nuclear security, which was something he did as a senator and previously as an activist.
Well, anyways, whatever. But the thing is, Trump is helping to kill fascists, and I think, what's the problem with that?
Well, he can't. I think we should tell him that he has to pick up his prize at The Hague.
Yeah, Tony Blair as well.
No.
But yes, we've had a former prime minister here who is a war criminal.
Yeah,
we were.
You had the whole media up in arms, and I was going, oh, what's the problem? He's told his voters to go kill themselves. What a lot.
There's actually places that saw a spike in like calls to like the Center of Disease Control for like actually ingesting like Lysol and other like bleach products.
Oh yeah. I actually have a question for you, Sophia, while you're here. We were on the homelessness thing, and I know you've been very activist on that front, and can you kind of tell? I don't know, because I didn't ask you if you've ever experienced it yourself.
Homelessness.
Yeah.
Yeah, very briefly when I was 18. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Was it LGBTQ related?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't LGBT. It was autistic related, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, there's that too, isn't there?
The other reason I rang in is, I don't know if you've heard, but I did see it. It was in the LGBTQ Nation on the LGBTQ Nation website.
Yep.
The British government, the Tories, who are the equivalent to the GOP, though I would always say more equivalent to the log cabin GOP, so more socially liberal. However, they have basically started to sort of put the idea of reversing a lot of the progress that has been with trans rights in this country.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Yeah, they're planning. Basically, they're proposing that no one can take hormones until they're 18, which is a bit misleading because actually you can't. There are some exceptional circumstances where
it wasn't just hormones; it was any sort of like trans healthcare, right? So that means even like puberty blockers. So they're gonna force like trans people to go through like the very traumatic experience of going through the wrong puberty.
Yeah,
we're going
like, fuck these people's like lives up essentially.
But we're going through this here, and I don't know if you read, but a couple of days ago, Donald Trump signed a thing where he's instructed doctors that they don't have to treat transgender patients for COVID-19.
Well,
because not just COVID-19, they can outright refuse trans people
that part's still in court.
Services in general.
That part's still in court. So I'm going to go with just very basic what's actually happening. The other thing is probably going to be upheld, but the the doctors should because we have an underlying condition. And so fuck him. I mean, seriously. That is
don't fuck him, actually. He can go fuck himself.
Yeah. Spank him with a magazine at least.
I will give him no sexual satisfaction, okay?
Oh, please. Even Monica Lewinsky said, tweeted out when he was getting impeached. She said,
gratification. That was the word I was looking for, but I somehow mixed it up with satisfaction. Gratisfaction. All right, that's my new word. We're going to make this the thing. Everybody's going to say it.
Monica Lewinsky.
See on the chain wax.
Monica Lewinsky tweeted out, well, I don't want to do it, and I find him horrendous, but I'll take one for the team.
But yeah, Sophia, you're going on a bit of the Tories taking back, obviously there's the rolling back of trans rights. Did you have more to say about that? I was hoping we didn't overwhelm you with comments or anything. Sophia? Oh no. Are you here, Sophia?
Are you there?
Her mic is on. Hold on, I'll double check it. Okay. Everybody's mic is on. Nope, it went off for a second.
Is this one of those circumstances where she's been talking, but we've just been frozen still for her?
No, I hope not. I have it set to up to 100 people.
Yeah, but given the size of our personalities, is that enough?
Well, given the amount of our personalities, is that enough?
Fair. Yeah, no, it's I'm yeah, you can check if she ends up wanting to pop back in.
Yeah, I've got my mouse sitting right here. There, okay. And there she goes. Here she comes. There she is. Mic is working.
Welcome back.
Oh, mic is not
connecting.
On. There we go.
There is connected to audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
So, yeah, the Tories were going to... Can you just hold on a second? I need to put my headset on.
It's very gratifying to hear your voice.
Gratifying. Yes.
It's the best new word.
Right? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you. Oh, I know what it was. It was because I moved away from the router. Okay. Yeah, they were proposing banning any healthcare for trans people until the age of 18.
Right.
But that wasn't just it. There was also a thing about that in the new Gender Recognition Act, there was going to be an important emphasis on protecting single space areas. Now,
single space areas?
Sorry,
yeah, what does that mean exactly?
So I meant single sex areas.
Oh, gotcha.
Now, if you know anything about TERFs, you know what that's code for.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And my response was...
just to make it clear to any audience members who don't know, it is code for individuals born as what the doctor assigned the person at birth, and whoever looks the most like a man or a woman, and trying to segregate things to kick trans people out.
Yeah, essentially, it's about, oh no, you can't let trans women use female restrooms because they might rape cis women,
right?
Which I really object to. Because it's very.
I don't like cis women. So
there are actually statistics out there that say like trans women are like more likely to get like sexually assaulted if they go into like male restrooms.
Yeah, and I've always said we're more afraid of you
opposite.
We're more afraid of you than you are of us.
I have a cis woman long distance girlfriend, and so I cannot say anything against cis women as a generalization. It's not allowed.
I was kind of joking on the.
I know.
There's
all I can say is only the cis steal in absolutes. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
I've seen that tweet way too much.
It's a good fucking meme either way. I was hoping it would get Christy Abbey like cracking up like it did the other day.
Sorry, Sophia. We've been talking over you. Sorry, we've been talking over you a bit.
So there's a few points I want to make. First of all, it's absolute bullshit that trans women would try and sexually assault any cis women. For the starters, what do hormones do to us? Does anyone think about that? Yeah.
I did think about what hormones did to me after I was given large amounts of documentation, and tons of information that I had to consent to.
Well,
I am the exception actually, because hormones made me more comfortable in my sexuality, so I am much more ready to go than I used to be. But I don't rape people. It's just not a thing I do. It's not my. It ain't my jam.
No, but let's. Basically,
I think I understand what you're trying to say. Like, for some people, it makes like the chunk they're born with not work.
Well, if
you're a trans woman or like a trans.
Yeah, look, I'm basically saying it. Trans women find pre-op trans women can't exactly get it up, can we? After taking a load of
I'm trying.
I can.
I'm trying my damnedest to like not say it assigned male at birth, because of all of like the discourse surrounding it recently.
But
I should have said like trans people with penises.
Anyways, moving on.
I kind of disagree with that.
That didn't affect me that way, but like obviously there's a lot of stuff that hormones does, and it doesn't increase your chance of being a rapist, and there's a lot of problems with the logic. There are a lot of other problems I have with the logic.
Anyways, the other point I was going to make is that essentially, and maybe Alex is aware of this, but TERF propaganda towards trans people, basically, it's like we're always, we want to use women-only spaces for nefarious no good. Well, TERF propaganda is very similar to what the Nazis pumped out about Jews being, always nefariously up to no good, and that worries me.
Yeah.
It's also like recycled like homophobic like arguments for back in the day.
So, there is. Yeah, I remember. I'm old enough. I'm old enough to remember in the 80s, the tabloids were always full of like, there was some teacher who was gay, and of course they were always making out that teachers who were gay were predators on young men, at school and stuff.
Yeah.
There's still like a lot of like there's still a lot of like Christian nationalists that'll claim that like all like gay and lesbian people are some sort of like pedophile.
Rock Hudson died for straight people's sins, and that is a true thing in the form of a joke.
Yeah, but I don't know as much about that person. I was just gonna say, on the National Day of Lesbian Visibility, of course, the LGBT Alliance. I don't know if you guys saw the tweet that the cringy tweet that that group put out. It was very much it was the classic trans men are confused lesbians sort of thing, and it was very much about how a person wanted it was about a made up woman who wanted to transition to a man, but then she found out about lesbianism.
Oh, dear.
And then decided not to. And the
that
story
sounds like bullshit, like from the beginning.
Yeah, well, I mean, the story is put out. It's like, oh, this person from like the 60s or something, and then, but like, it's still like there's so much bullshit, and not just that. It is, it's belittling and just it's talking about trans men like they're children. And that's fucking sickening.
I did make the point that it's been Lesbian Visibility Week, in fact. I know today was Lesbian Visibility Day, but it's been the past week.
I want to see more lesbians.
And I did make the point that a lot of people who are trans women are also lesbians.
Yeah.
The vast majority of feminists and lesbians accept that and have no problem with it. TERFs, we've got to remember, are a very small minority. Yes, they're very loud, but extremists are always very loud. Don't we know it with these anti-lockdown protests?
Well, the thing is that I get the impression that they're loud, and they also inspire the Tories.
Well, yeah, they inspire the right wing because the right wing have always been bigots. That's the truth. Okay.
I don't have a disagreement.
One of the things,
and the thing is that the right wing always wants some other minority because capitalism is so fucked up, right? They are so indoctrinated with neoliberal capitalism, they need to blame some minority for the reason why it's fucked up. I've had experience with this 10 years ago after the financial, the first financial crisis of my lifetime. Well, actually, it wasn't the first. People need to remember the saving and loan crisis back in the 80s. That wasn't as well publicized, but the banking crisis of 2008. After that, disabled people in this country were victimized, essentially. A lot of disabled people who, need welfare to basically just survive, were essentially, shall we say, being murdered. That's ostensibly what it was, so that bankers could get off free. Because bankers obviously donate to the Tory party, and disabled people vote Labour.
Well, to bring it back around a little bit, the banking crisis of 2008 resulted in a sudden spate of homelessness, which in the U.S., which was bizarre because you couldn't take your foreclosures and stuff off your taxes, and it was, or I just said that very poorly, but the middle class suffered very greatly, and it's weird that Donald Trump came in, because it's like they don't remember 8 years ago.
Well, it was more than 8 years ago. Well, it was 8 years ago when it first was elected, but
yeah,
so that's fair.
Periods of economic crisis, it's always the working class that suffers, not just middle class. Anybody that doesn't have fucking money in the bank.
I'll give you an example, right, of how hypocritical and fickle people are, right? So, in this country, every Thursday since the COVID lockdown has started, right, there's been this thing where people have gone out of their houses and clapped for NHS staff. NHS is our universal healthcare system, right?
Yeah.
Most of those people probably have voted Tory, right? And it's like, well, the reason why the NHS has, not being is finding it harder to cope, with the COVID-19 pandemic, is because of Tory austerity. And you're the ones who voted for the fucking Tories, And then you've got the cheek to go out and clap for the NHS.
Didn't they fucking cut their funding to some exorbitant amount?
Well, the Tories keep saying that, oh, we've increased funding to the NHS, but if you look in real terms, no, they've actually cut it.
But Brexit was supposed to put more money into the NHS. The bus said so. There was a bus that said so. I believe the bus.
For fuck's sake, Nigel Farage. we're in the middle of a fucking global pandemic, right? And Nigel Farage is still banging on about fucking Brexit, and it's like, dude, you've really got your priorities seriously fucked up.
Well, we've got a priority fucked up guy going here, so we're kind of concentrating on him a lot more than we are Britain right now.
Well, I mean, it's the fucked up aspects of nationalism, to the more extreme ends. It's the country over the people. The country is its own special entity, and so whatever makes the United States strong and powerful matters more than the people living there, more than the people dying on the streets, more than the people trying to just get a home to live in, more than any of that.
If I may,
not to mention that, in the U.S., even the majority of Democrats are profit over people.
No, well, no.
Anyways, there was something I wanted to ask you.
Well, wait. Christy has been trying to talk. Let Christy speak.
I wanted to lighten it up just one thing. The most interesting thing I found out is that they've delayed airing the new The Stand miniseries.
Oh.
Which,
I don't know what that is.
It's based on.
That's unacceptable.
It's based,
you have to do something about that.
It's based on a Stephen King novel about a pandemic.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was layers. There were layers in there. I didn't know, but I was laughing along a little bit. See, that's what you gotta
predicted
do.
This all.
Well, it's funny because a friend of there's a friend of mine, right? As soon as the pandemic started, they were posting like the films they were watching on Facebook, and it was like that they were watching all the post-pandemic, all the apocalyptic pandemic films like Outbreak and Cassandra Crossing. Christ, Cassandra Crossing is a really shit film.
I don't know that film.
But yes, but
Anyways, I was about to
Andromeda Strain, but you forgot Andromeda Strain.
Oh yes,
both versions.
Yes. Well, the Andromeda Strain, the original, I thought was really fucking boring.
Really? Because I think it's one of the great movies I've ever seen. So.
Well,
we
could get into movie fight, but
it's fine. It's fine. It's not important. But yes, the Stand miniseries, they redid it after
School Rock, best movie ever.
They had the one starring Molly Ringwald and
disagree.
and
Detective
Christies.
Pikachu.
I haven't seen it, so I have no opinion.
I love Detective Pikachu. I am biased towards that film. I think that film has a little bit of everything. Sorry, I decided to distract things further into the films.
If you want to watch a post-pandemic apocalyptic film, then I'd suggest Neil Marshall's Doomsday. It's a British film.
Yes.
And the reason I suggest it is because it is an outright homage to films like Escape from New York and particularly Mad Max. And, it tickles you with that. And that's why I liked it. And I actually remember when I went to see that, I actually went to see it at the cinema because I like Neil Marshall. And there is an issue I have with you Americans, which I'll deal with in a minute about a Neil Marshall film. But anyways.
It's okay. I hate Americans too.
I went to see...
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, you hate the country, not the people living in it.
I know.
We all have to live here. Well, I mean, the people who live here have to live here.
Yes.
When I went to see, so close to Canada. I'm walking distance.
When I went to see Dooms, I remember when I went to see Doomsday. It had a limited release for some reason, and so I had to travel further afield to watch it. And I got to the cinema, and I was the only person in the cinema. So I looked around. I went, screw it! I took my shoes off, put my feet up on the chair, and lit a joint. No one gave a shit.
I did see it, but I saw it on premium, whatever they were, HBO, Showtime.
Yeah, but anyways, no. The issue I've got with you Americans is when it comes to Neil Marshall films is The Descent. Now, the British version of The Descent, there is no way there can be a sequel, right?
Right.
But the Americans had it recut. It was recut for the American market so that there could be a sequel, and there was a sequel. And the sequel's not bad, but it's nowhere near as good.
Well,
and
yeah.
I'm really getting fed up with
Isn't that usually how sequels work?
There's this is a fight I have because there
no. I would say Aliens is better than Alien. Okay,
no. I disagree with you.
I haven't seen either.
And Angels with Dirty Faces is better than Dead End.
Aliens did not age as well.
I've got another example. For a few dollars more is better than A Fistful of Dollars. Okay.
I didn't watch either of those movies, so I will.
You've never even heard of them.
Well,
Empire Strikes Back is the best in the series.
Yeah, but you have to like Star Wars in the first place, and I don't. Anyways,
I'm not a big Star Wars fan either.
Yeah, and I mean the other one. Some people say is Terminator Judgment Day is better than the first Terminator film.
Yep.
I would say they're two different films actually.
Well, that's how most films work. Yeah, they usually don't just replay the film and slap the number 2 on that.
Well, that's what I said about Alien and Aliens. Alien was basically haunted house in space, right?
Yeah, but Alien also, had high school levels of knowledge of biology, whereas Aliens Aliens is very, there's a lot of stuff that has not aged well about Aliens, and for whatever reason I still like Alien. I don't know.
I know, I like them both. I'm just saying that if you give me a choice of which one to watch, I'd say Aliens.
And I would say Alien.
Yeah. The other one I would say is I actually think Mad Max 2 is better than the first Mad Max.
Anything is better
I think
than the
almost
first.
everyone agrees with that.
Well,
okay,
no, it's just,
I'm gonna go controversial.
Hold on, no,
2010 Odyssey 2.
Fuck off.
Is that a real movie?
It is a real movie. It exists.
Mad Max Fury Road is the best Mad Max.
No, Mad Max 2. Mad Max 2, and the reason I would say Mad Max 2 is that tanker chase at the end.
Yeah.
If you know, basically this was done before they had CGI, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, people were getting hurt doing the stunts on that.
But you do realize that how much stunt work was done in Mad Max Fury Road. As well, that was pretty impressive. Like if you see the behind the scenes of that, that's part of the reason why the special effects look so good in Mad Max Fury Road. I mean, yes, there are CG moments in Mad Max Fury Road. I'm not going to deny that, but it also looks better.
Look, I'm not denying that Mad Max Fury Road isn't a good film. I saw it at the cinema, and I have to say,
I also saw it in the cinema. It's awesome. It's awesome.
I've never seen it,
and you have to see. And I would say Mad Max Fury Road is one of those films you have to see on the big screen. It really does. It's one of those films that works on the big screen.
So is Paprika. Sorry, that's a.
Oh dear!
Really out there.
Don't. Yeah, that's oh Jesus!
That's a really out there reference.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry. I'm a film buff. I'm kind of like you can hardly pass one by me.
Christy, I really have to take issue with you know, insulting Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke were both into 2010. So
no.
Yes, they were.
They were in the. Were they?
Yes.
I don't remember Stanley Kubrick having any part of 2010.
They were indeed there.
Well, 2001.
No, 2001 is an amazing film, and I'm fucking with everybody, but I actually like the book. I actually like the book better. I thought the book was better than the first one.
First time I ever dropped acid, right, was when the was the Stargate scene in 2001.
Wow.
Yeah. I think things maybe have devolved a bit too far, but I mean, we're getting near the end. And
I was about to. I just want to take one more issue up with you about a certain film, right?
Sure.
So you Americans have to have your films, your British films, recut so it gives you a happy ending, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't really care. But
the most famous example of this is Brazil.
Oh, now, fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which I have never seen that version. And to be honest, you know, everyone says, oh, it has a downer ending. No, it doesn't. I won't spoil the ending exactly, but I will say what it says is what the ending actually says is the one thing they can't take away from you is your dreams.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the message at the end, and you know you have to have some intelligence to understand that.
Well, yes, but British aren't necessarily more intelligent. I mean, you did put that the Hitler with the Jewish neighbors sitcom on, so you've. But then again, you have Ashes to Ashes and Life on Mars, which are I adore those that
Hidden
series.
Fry and Laurie was fucking amazing.
Yes.
But
if you've not seen Life on Mars, Ashes to Ashes, it's spectacular. You must do that. The American version of Life on Mars was ridiculous.
Yes. So
no, it was still pretty good. Just wasn't anywhere near the same. It was
the third episode, the one that had nothing to do with the British one, was excellent. The one with the gay cop, that rocked.
Okay, so
sorry.
well, I mean, we're
way
getting
out
close
of
to the end, and we've devolved into just chatting about movie stuff. So I figure, we'll do guest near last, just to keep best for last. Christy, what are you up to? Where can people find you?
I'm going to finish editing the conversation Sophia and I had, because some of that stuff needs to be taken out. By request, some of it, and one of them that I'm super uncomfortable with and I have to take out. But and I suck at editing, so I'm hoping to get that up tomorrow. I have Aaron Green on again this week, and we're actually gonna be a little tighter than we were last time. I had to move Jesse Genders part 2 to the week after, so I'm still looking for a second for this week. I have X-Cult Baby coming on soon as well, and she wants to be on here as well. So we're and for 2 very different reasons. So I'm hoping this will be a good synergy. Of course, I always drag my people along,
Yeah, and well, I mean, as long as you're here. Oh, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm at Christy Abbey. It's just, you just type in Christy Abbey, Abbey.
Oh, yes.
And you will find me on YouTube. My Twitter. Actually, if you type in Christy Abbey, you'll find me on Twitter too. But it's Normality Quake on Twitter. My Twitch is Christy Ann Abbey. Christyanne Abbey. And that's gonna start tomorrow. Yay!
Okay.
Good switch.
That's it.
So Sophia, as long as you're here, is there anything you'd like to promote? Or as long as you're sitting here, I figured I'd ask.
Nope, we lost her again.
Okay. Perfect. Still just the Rumpus Room?
just the Rumpus Room. Yep.
Okay.
If anybody wants to find me, I'm on Discord at the Rumpus Room, or some other places like the Fluid Voice. But
yeah, I hear you're on here every week.
And Shae, you've got a whole bunch of stuff that you've come back with a bang. I want to tell them.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'm back in the game. I'm not going by my old name. Fucking, that was some cringy atheist shit. That doesn't matter, okay?
That way.
Callan, an old guest of the show here, and I actually just recently started a channel called Trans Carter. It's linked down in the description, so you might want to go over there, click on it, subscribe. What we're trying to build is a trans advocacy channel focused on like community building. We want to build like a support network and community people where people can feel comfortable. We're not limiting it just to trans people. Any segment of the GRSM community is welcome to join, as well as allies. We're hoping to make educational content as well, in hopes that it will bring some understanding to a lot of people, because we know majority of a lot of these issues are kind of unknown to a lot of people. I mean, I personally think a lot of it's intuitive, but like ignorance is like a big problem and one of the leading causes of like fucking homophobia, transphobia, that kind of thing, in my opinion. As long as you like get some education out there, like usually,
well, I think it's
a little bit better.
I've been watching I've been watching everything that's come out on your channel, and I very highly recommend it. And I think, and speaking of synergy, I think it works. Having both of these groups here
Right,
is
I'm back
something very useful.
But
I like having more of the trans groups that are more not spotty. Okay, let's all get together for a day, but having actual. We don't have focus in the last half hour as we've seen, but in general, I think your channel's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Our first stream, we just did it last week. It was on a recent debate with Rationality Rules and Sargon of Akkad on what makes a woman. That was fucking a lot of fun.
Oh
honestly.
no,
I've been wanting to tackle Sargon of Akkad for a long time, and like, it was great. A great comeback to the YouTube sphere, honestly. We just interviewed Christy.
Okay, go.
Sorry, we just interviewed Christy Abbey as well, which was honestly amazing. She was one of the first people that I wanted to have on the channel just because she's been a huge help to me, and I know she's a huge help to the community in general, helping people find resources and stuff that they need. And like every community needs somebody like that, you know what I mean? And if you didn't catch that, it's not while community building is like our main focus, Callan and I still do want to have some spicy like reaction videos and streams every once in a while, and that's why we did Sargon and Rationality Rules. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna start doing that too.
That's me. Find me in the description and come hang out.
And and you mentioned where you pointed to the description several times. And I am Ozma in the Dark on Twitch, Ozma in the Dark on YouTube. I also have Ozma in the Dark Politics, which I haven't done anything with for a bit. I've had to do a lot of YouTube sorting out. On my main channel, the Ozma in the Dark, just regular Ozma in the Dark on YouTube, I will be uploading. So I got ambitious with my D&D streams, and I wanted to deal with drawing. I don't have money, so like I was trying to draw all the characters and do a fancy intro. I have a lot of VODs on my computer. I am just going to upload the streams in a much more simplistic fashion. So I will get the streams up there ideally twice a week. Once I start making sure, I'll probably do some minimal editing. I will get those up there, and there's also a video with regard to critique that I want to make and get out there, because I want to actually, when I get critiqued, I want to actually listen to the critique and take in what I agree with, after self-reflection, what I agree with, and mention, what I'm going to do, and then also mention what I disagree with and why I disagree with it and stuff like that. And I'm still figuring out some format, but I should be getting some content out soon, at the very least on my main channel. Also I'm talking to nothing on Twitter as well. I think all my links are in the description as well of this video. And I hope you guys had a good time, and you
even in the darkness, I like sharing the darkness.
Exactly.
It makes it brighter. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for doing this every week. I love this.
Yeah, and thank you all for being here.